that, I would like to welcome our next speaker, Rupesh, to our India Microsoft BizApps Bootcamp 2022. Along with being a very good friend of mine, Rupesh has always shown his passion to share his expert knowledge to the community and has been an active member for this community as well. Today, he is going to walk us through the credit and collection management process of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. Over to you, Rupesh. The stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Shabir. Thank you for those kind words. And hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon, wherever the geography you are right now. So let me share my screen and then I will start my presentation. Just a minute. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, Rupesh.
Yeah. So first of all, I will just tell me about myself. Hello, everyone. I'm Rupesh Damdere. I'm a lead finance functional consultant, come up with 14 years of experience in implementation of AX, which includes a version from AX 4.0 till Dynamics 365 FNO. So I worked in implementation for various industries and domains such as trading, manufacturing, IT services, and logistics. So this is about myself, and today we're going to discuss about credit and collection management in the Dynamics 365. So today's agenda is about give a brief overview and a basic understanding of different features available within the Dynamics, which is like aging balances, collection letters, interest notes, write-off, and customer reimbursements, which are part of the credit and collection module. So we'll discuss about brief on those different features available and try to give flavors of these individual areas within this module. So with that, I will start the presentation for the next activity. So the theme of this presentation will be like, we'll first discuss about this each of this feature, what is the purpose of this feature. Then we'll discuss about the mandatory requirement, mandatory setups and the transactions which are required for this kind of for this functionality. Then we'll see the actual setups and the parameters within the Dynamics, and then we'll see how to process those transactions within Dynamics, and then we'll review the result of these individual processes. So we'll start with the first, that is customer aging balances. So customer aging balance, why it is required? So this is very must for the organization for their to understand their working capital requirement, the liquidity position of that particular organization. So this customer aging balance is also similar with the vendor aging balance. So by looking at this both the pictures, a company can able to understand what is the working capital requirement, how's the liquidity situation of that organization. So this particular age balance will provide what are the past due balances of the customers or future payments which will be due by the customer. So this particular information, this particular report or inquiry give that information to customers. So accordingly, they can plan their actions. Like let's say if the payment is overdue, so they can start sending reminders. They can connect with the customers and try to get the money from the customers, or they can plan their actions for based on the future payments which are due in the future periods. So for this particular customer aging balance, the main prerequisite is to set up a aging period definition. So aging period definition is nothing but how you wanted to see the period, the aging balance of the customer. So sometimes some businesses wanted to see the previous past due information for last 30 days, 60 days, and future 30 or 60 or 100 or more than that. So the future and the past position of the customer aging. And to do that, there is a very much mandatory to run the aging, the age customer balance batch So once you set up that aging period definition, you have to run that batch to view the current position or the position which for which you run that particular batch. So this is about the basic about the purpose of this aging custom aging balance report and what are the prerequisite to uh, to get this functionality and the information. So with that, I will move to the dynamics and we'll see what is in the dynamics, like where you can set up this aging period definition and where you can run this batch job and how the result look like once we execute that process. So with that, we'll move to X. I will just. So to define a aging period definition, we have to go to setup aging period definition. So over here, you can define different aging buckets for your information. So over here, if you wanted to see the previous the balance which are overdue in the different buckets, like last 60 days, 90 days, or more than that. So likewise, you can set up over here like minus 30 days, minus 60 days. And over here, as a part of interval, you have multiple options, like whether you wanted to see like day wise or a week wise or a month wise. So accordingly, you can set up a minus sign with that, and you can create that particular period over here. And if you wanted to view the future balance, future due payments, so you can just simply add a positive unit and the interval accordingly, like days or months or like that. And if you can see this printing directions over here, so it gives you, whenever you run the report, aging balance report, or you can view the aged balance inquiry of the customer, it shows the balance accordingly. So if over here, if you select a backward, so system will first show you in the report as a column as a 30 days, so then 60 days and 90 days. Likewise, system will print those agings accordingly, whatever you have set up over here.
Rupesh, sorry to stop in. It looked like you have not shared the application. Everyone can see only the presentation deck.
Okay, sorry. I will share my screen again. So now you're able to see it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Thanks, Rakesh. So this is about your aging period definition, or where you define periodic the aging for the different periods and how you wanted to print that aging. So once you define this aging, you need to run a batch job. If I go to over here in the periodic and the credit and collection module, age customer balance, over here you have to select the aging period definition for which you wanted to see the customer aging snapshot. So you have to select that particular aging period definition. Over here you can see select where which criteria you wanted to select for the aging. So generally we select a due date over here, and till what time you wanted to see the aging. So till today or till end of the month. So you can select a date over here, or there is another option that system just you can select a today date and system will run the aging accordingly. So over here, there is another different options available, like whether you wanted to include a customer with a zero balance in your batch processing, whether you wanted to update the collection status, and then you can just run this batch and then system automatically, as per the aging period definition which you have selected for this batch, system calculate the age balance for the individual customers. So now for the interest of time, I'm not going to run this batch, and I will I have already run this batch. So we'll just go and see the result of this particular batch execution result. So we'll go to this collection and age balances. So over here you can see based on this aging period definition, system is automatically calculated all the age balances for the individual customer. So you can see for this particular customer, 970 is the total amount due till the time I have run the batch, and what is the different in the in which particular bucket that particular overdue amount is sits in. So if you can see two over here, so $25 is sits in this last 60 overdue of 60 days, and there are 892 pounds dollars which are sits in more than 180 period bucket. So you wanted to, if you wanted to check like where we can see this overdue balance, so you can just go over here in these transactions, and in this particular show options filter criteria, you can just select open, and from this due date you can able to understand like how much amount is overdue. So and whether it is correctly sits in this particular brackets which are already shown in this age balance. Okay, so this is about customer age balance, which is very vital for the organization to analyze their working capital and liquidity position. So with that, we'll move to the next topic, that is our collection, that is a collection letter. So I will share again a screen. So collection letter is a process or a feature within the Dynamics to send reminders to customers who are overdue certain invoice payments. So this feature is helped to send a reminder to customer to make a payment, to request them to make a payments against those overdue invoices. And there is a possibility also to send a multiple reminders against those overdue invoices. So there is also a possibility in Dynamics, like you can just, after multiple reminders, if you wanted to block further invoicing against that particular customer, so that is also possible. Like if you send a multiple reminders, even though the customer is not paying the due, then you can just block the customer record for further invoicing. There is also a possibility to charge a fee to the customer when you are sending these collection letters. You can charge a collection fee to the customers. So to use this feature, there is a what are the prerequisite for this particular feature. So we have to define a collection letter sequence, and you have to link this collection letter sequence to a customer posting profile. So without linking this collection letter sequence to a customer posting profile, it whenever you execute those collection letters, system will not generate any collection letters, because there is no link between this collection letter sequence with the posting profile. So it is very much important to create this link between the customer collection letter sequence and a customer posting profile. So with that, we'll move to in the Dynamics, and we'll see what is the configurations are possible over there. What are the process how we can generate a collection letters, and what are the different possibilities once we generate a collection letter. So once you generate a collection letter, you can print that collection letter, you can post the collection letter, and even you can cancel the collection letter. So I will now move to the Dynamics, and we'll see the actual configurations and how we can execute the collection letter process, and then we will view the result of those collection letter. So I will go to Dynamics now, and we'll so we'll go to the collection letter sequence. So over here, I have defined a collection letter sequence over here. So over here, I have created a multiple collection letter sequence, collection letter 1, collection letter 2, and collection letter 3. So initially, let's say if you wanted to send a initial reminder to the customer after one day overdue, so you can define this collection letter 1 without any fee. So you can because this is the first reminder to the customer. So you can just simply set a first collection letter, and then over here, sorry for that, over here you can just mention the date after which this particular collection letter should be generated. Okay, then you can set up the next sequence of letter should be sent. Like, okay, if the customer is still not paid, then the next letter should be sent after 3 days, and at that time you wanted to charge some fee to the customer. So you can define the fee over here, what fee you wanted to charge, and what is the main account where this particular fee will be posted. So this is the main account where you will just define where that particular fee will be posted. And over here also you can define like how much the minimum overdue. Only in that case you will send this collection later. And over here when you say the days, it's just when after first collection letter, the next collection letter when it will be created. So over here you just mention like next after last collection letter day when the next collection letter will be created. Similarly, you can just create another collection letter. This may be you wanted to block the customer because you are sending a third reminder to the customer and you wanted to charge a higher fee for that. So you can just change the fee over here, as well as when you wanted to send that particular collection letter. So after your previous collection letter, so you can just define that days over here. And over here we have a block checkbox. So you can just mark this checkbox. It will, so once you run this particular collection letter and system generated this collection letter, so you can just able to block the customer once you post this collection letter which is system has created at the third reminder. Over here we have this terms of payment where you can define like when any fee is charged on the collection letter, what will be the due date for that fee. So you can just define that terms of payment over here for this collection letter. And for individual collection letter, what should be the text needs to be sent or along with that particular letter, you can define that note over here in this below section of the notes. So for individual letter, you can define a different note, and when it is a last kind of a note, you can just remind them, okay, we will stop a further business with you until you pay the remaining due of that collection of that overdue invoices. So this is about setting up a collection letter sequence. The next step is to attach this particular sequence to a posting profile. So to do that, we need to go to setup, customer posting profile. Over here, we have different groups created. So for individual groups, you can just go and define or configure a different collection letter. So over here, for this particular group, I have configured this collection letter sequence as a medium. So it is very important for the implementers when we are defining a particular it is very vital to organize your customer group accordingly, because there might be certain customer where you don't wanted to send a collection letter because those are very high business what the customers to you. There are certain customers where you wanted to have don't have that much kind of a business and you wanted to send this kind of a letters to them. So it is very vital for the implementer to group your customers accordingly, and then based on that grouping you can set up these collection letters collection letter sequences. So, and for individual customer for that particular posting profile, this collection letter checkbox should be marked as yes. Until if it is not marked as yes, system will not going to generate a collection letter for that particular posting profile. So this is very much important to tag your collection letter sequence to in the posting profile, as well as for the particular posting profile, this collection letter sequence should be marked as yes. The next important parameter is in the collection letters, credit and collection parameter. In the collection, when you generate any collection letter, so how your next collection letter should be generated. So if you select a printout over here, system whenever you generate a collection letter and print that collection letter, system automatically consider that as a first kind of a reminder is already sent to the customer. So when you next time run the collection letter, system creates a collection letter number 2 against that overdue payment. So it is very important to define this collection letter code So if you don't want it to generate a new collection letter sequence, it is better to set up this parameter as a posting. So until and unless you not post that collection letter, system will not going to regenerate a next collection letter. Whether the next set of parameters are like whether you wanted to exclude disputed transactions from the from free calculation, as well as if you wanted to ignore a credit notes and payments for the collection letters. And the most important aspect over here, how you wanted to create a collection letter. Sorry. So whether you wanted to create a collection letter per transaction for the individual invoice, you wanted to create a collection letter, or you wanted to club all the overdue invoices into a single collection letter. So in that scenario, you have to select create a collection letter per as a customer. So what system will do, if there are multiple invoices which are overdue, system will create only one collection letter against that customer. So this is all about a setup of the collection letter. So we'll see how and where you execute the collection letters in the Dynamics. So we have to go into its credit and collection module. In the credit and collection module, in the setup create collection sequence, you set up your collection letter sequence, and to create the collection letter, we have to select go to this create collection letters. Over here in this parameter, we have multiple options against which you wanted to create a collection letter for the customer. So sorry. So whether you wanted to create a collection letter for the invoice, credit note, payment, or interest, so accordingly system will create that collection letter. So over here, generally you can select an invoice as an option against which you wanted to create a collection letter. As our parameter is already selected as to generate as per the individual customer, so you will not get able to select again which collection letter sequence you wanted to generate or against the customer. So if you select the parameter as a transaction, only in that case you will find the selection as a different collection letter sequence over here. But our selection is a customer. That's why system is not allow you to select the sequence, but system is just showing that okay, collection is set up as per the customer. Over here, you can select the collection letter date. So till what time you wanted to check the invoices which are due till that date, and system will then generate a collection letter accordingly. The next step is like the selection of posting profile. So whether there are multiple options available over there, account and select. So if you say select if you just select over here as a select, and then you have to define select against which posting profile you wanted to generate this collection letter. And if you select account, so system based on the posting profile which are set up for the individual customer account will take into a consideration and will generate a collection letter. Or there is also a possibility that you can just filter different customer, different groups, and against that you can generate this collection letter. For interest of time, I'm not going to generate this, and we'll discuss I already created collection letter. So we'll discuss that how once we run that batch, how the collection letter is getting generated and what information is available in this collection letter. So to view that, we need to go into a review and process collection letter. So I have already created multiple collection letters against this customer 004. So whenever we run the batch system, this based on the collection letter sequence, system generates this individual collection letters. So this particular collection letter is generated for the first collection letter, which is a reminder to the customer. Okay, this particular invoices are overdue, so please make a payment against that due invoices. So if I go inside of this particular collection letter, you will find a basic details over here regarding this collection letter, like when this collection letter is generated and other information like how much amount is due by the customer. And in this transactions area, you can view against which individual customer, so against which individual invoices when it was due and how much is the balance is pending against the individual invoices. So this is something which is available over here. And then either you can print this particular collection letter, or you can post this collection letter. So once you post any collection letter, only in that case system will generate when you run the next batch to create a collection letter, only in that case system will generate and take into consideration the next collection letter sequence code. Until and unless you are not post this collection letter, system will not going to take into consideration of next collection letter. And once you post a collection letter, so in this case I have created a two different collection letter scores or against this particular customer. So collection letter 1 and collection letter 2. So you can see over here I have created two set of collection letter code for this collection letter 2. So whenever you created a collection letter and you have not posted that collection letter and you rerun that collection letter again for that customer, so earlier collection letter sequence which is created got cancelled, even though it was printed, but it got cancelled and the new letter will be created. So if I go inside of this particular collection letter, you will see there are different collection letter for the same kind of invoices. For the same invoices, system has generated a next collection letter 2, but it got cancelled because I run run the batch for creating a collection letter. That's why this particular collection letter got cancelled and system has created a new collection letter. Over here you can see this additional free text invoices got added, or invoices got added over here because I run the batch. And once I post this particular collection letter, as this is a second in the sequence and I have set up a $25 fee for this collection letter, so system automatically added that fee over here as a part of fee in this collection letter in this particular collection letter. So whenever you post the collection letter for the individual customer, if I go inside of this particular customer, I will just wanted to showcase you what happens, what records system updating in the customer transaction. So if I go to this particular customer record, so this is my customer. If I go to this transactions, so this is the voucher 726 against which a collection letter 2 has been updated. So this is my voucher. So if I go inside of this, over here in this collection tab, you can see the collection letter number is also updated and what is the collection letter sequence which was created against this particular transaction is also got updated. So whenever you run the next collection letter, system read this previous information updated or posted against this particular transaction and generate a next collection letter. So for this particular record for transaction, I have created a third collection letter or third in the sequence of that collection letter. And over here, if I go inside of this, you can see all those transactions which are appeared over here. But as I mentioned, there is a different fee applicable for this collection because this is a third reminder. So the 50 euro or $50 is updated over here. And you can see this block sign is marked as yes. So if I post this particular collection letter now, if I go to this customer record, you can see sorry. Sorry for that. Credit collection. So this invoice and delivery on hold is no. So if I post this collection letter, system will automatically change this invoice and delivery collection hold as invoice. And then if you try to further post any invoice against this customer, that will get blocked. So based on once let's say now I post this particular collection letter. So there is an option whether you wanted to post at a current day or when you run this particular collection letter. So you can just select this and then click OK. So now this collection letter is posted. You can see this fee is automatically updated over here in this collection letter. And if I refresh this particular record, so you can see this invoice and delivery on hold is marked as invoice. So you no longer allowed to do any further further transactions against this particular customer. Okay, so and if you go into this particular transaction, you can see this $50 is added as a collection fee, and you can see this vouchers like the customer account is debited, and the ledger account which you mentioned in the collection letter sequence is credited over here because that is your revenue. So that is credited over here. So this is all about a collection letter. So we'll move to the next point, which is related to the interest note. So let me reshare my screen and we'll just first talk about interest notes, and then we'll go inside of dynamics, and then we'll see the configurations and other aspects. So the interest notes is nothing but whenever you wanted to charge a customer for the overdue invoice payments. So let's say there might be a contract or agreement between the customer and a party that okay, we will charge you 2% or 5% interest on the overdue invoices. So in that case, you can use this interest notes as a feature where you will charge a customer the interest on their overdue invoices. There is also a possibility that you need to pay interest to the customer on an overdue credit note. So you can also set up that kind of a configuration in the interest notes, like you will pay the interest on your overdue credit notes where you have not paid to the customer because of on those overdue credit notes. There is also a possibility you can charge a fee to the customers on those interest notes. So this kind of features and possibilities available as a part of interest notes within the credit and collection module. So what is the prerequisite to use this feature? So over here also we have to create interest notes, interest codes basically, where you will define how you wanted to charge those interests against the overdue invoices, and it is very much important to link those interest codes with the customer posting profile. Based on that only, system will generate or create a calculations against the interest based on those overdue invoices. So we will, as a part of configuration, we will see like interest codes, customer posting profile, and the credit and collection parameter, and we will see how and where you can generate this interest calculations, and where you can review and post this interest note. There is also a possibility in the dynamics. So let's say if you wanted to waive those collection, waive those interest, or waive those fees which are levied on the overdue balances, or you can just reverse those transactions or reinstate. Let's say if you waive the fee or interest based on your conversation with the customer, but post that if certain things happen and you wanted to reinstate those interest or a fee, that feature is possible in dynamics, like to waive or reinstate or reverse those collection letters and interest. So we'll see how to process this, and then we'll also see the how the financial transactions look like, how the settlements look like for those individual transactions. So with that, we'll move to dynamics. I will sorry. I will go to dynamics and we'll see. So to create a collection interest notes, we need to go to collection, credit and collection module, interest, set up interest codes. Over here, you can set up interest codes accordingly. So you can just create a new record. Over here, you can select enter a code and a description, whatever is as per suitable for you, and then you can need to select interest type. So there are two options available over here, as a single or a multiple rate. So whenever you select a single rate, system applies the whatever the current rate configure in this particular interest code on the transactions. And if you select a multiple rate, so let's say for any particular any particular transactions which are due in the last couple of months, and for individual months, as your policy, you are changing the interest rates. So you can just select a multiple rate, and depending on the transactions position of that particular invoice, system will charge a different interest rate accordingly. So if you wanted to, if it is like your business situation, like you are changing the rates every quarter or every 6 months, so you can just select that over here as a multiple rate, and based on that transaction periodic information, system will take that particular period rate and will apply and will calculate the interest. Over here, you can also mention the grace period. So let's say if you don't wanted to calculate the interest for the post due date. Let's say today is the 20th of November, and you wanted and today is the due date of any particular invoice, and you wanted to give some grace period for the customer. Like post that, you will going to calculate the interest on that particular overdue invoice. So you can just mention those grace period over here. And also for this, so whenever you select a multiple rate, then you can just define effective and expiry when that particular rate will be effective and when that particular interest rate is interest code is expiring. So next set of things in this particular interest code is like how often you wanted to calculate the interest. Like over here, I have selected every month I wanted to calculate the interest. So over here, you can select the frequency of that interest calculation. So there are multiple options available like day, month, calendar, and day 365. So if you select a day and you mention over here as a 15, so every 15 days system will for every 15 days the system will calculate the interest. Okay, so over here I selected one as a month, so every month system will calculate the interest on the overdue invoices. You have to provide interest ledger account over here, so where that interest amount will be posted into, and there is an option like whether you wanted to charge a percentage or you wanted to charge a fixed amount of interest. So if you select amount over here, this interest percentage will go away. So over here you have to just select whether you wanted to calculate on a percentage basis or a single amount of single fixed amount you wanted to charge as a part of your interest. There is also option of interest by range. So let's say you are calculating interest on a month-on-month basis, okay, and you wanted to charge to a customer on the different ranges. So there are different options available like amount, days, or months. So for amounts, let's say if the invoice value or due value is like $1,000, then you will going to charge 2%. If it is a $10,000, you wanted to charge a 4%. So that kind of a range you can define over here. So if you select the amount over here, then you need to go inside over here, and in these ranges you have to define those ranges like the amount, whatever selection you have made over here in this interest by range. So if you wanted to charge a different rates as per a day or a month, you can select that particular range over here and go and define that particular interest value for that particular ranges. So that kind of a possibility is available in the interest codes, like whether you wanted to configure interest rates as per the range, or you wanted to calculate interest as on a percentage or amount basis. There is also a possibility you can just apply a interest fee. So over here in this particular earning by currency, you have to define like how much fee you wanted to charge and what is the ledger account for that particular fee. So this is where you will just define the fee which we will going to charge on the interest. So there, as I already mentioned, like you can also post interest on the credit notes. So that particular area is over here. Or here you can define whatever interest you wanted to charge or create on the overdue credit notes. So we'll not going to discuss because it's more or less similar over here. Now we'll go and see the customer posting profile, where we'll tag this or link this interest code. So if I go to any customer in the customer posting profile over here, we have to tag this particular interest code against the individual group or all customers or a single customer. So depending on your configuration, you can define the interest code over here, which you wanted to apply against that particular group. And this particular checkbox is very much important over here, whether you wanted to charge interest or not. Okay, so if this is not marked, system will not going to calculate the interest. I will now go to collection letter and credit and collection parameters. Over here, how you wanted to calculate interest. So whether you wanted to calculate only on open transactions or a closed transaction or open or closed transaction. So depending on that, you can select those options, and then system will consider those transactions and will will calculate the interest. So when we say close, it means those transactions against which payment is already made, but those are made at a later date. So let's say your due date was like 30th of October and customer made a payment on the 15th of November. So if you wanted to charge a customer on that particular late payment, so you can just select over here as a open and close. And if you wanted to only charge on the open customer invoices which are overdue, so you have to select open over here as a part of interest and collection parameter. So this is about the parameter. Now we'll move to the how to generate or create this interest notes. So we'll move to this create interest notes. Over here, you have to select on which kind of a transactions you wanted to create this interest. So over here, you can select those different transactions: invoice, credit notes, payments, and interest. And over here, you have to define like from and to date, from where to where the transactions which are due. You wanted to consider those as for the interest calculation. So you have to select that from and to date, which will be a due date of those individual transactions. You can select a transaction as a posting profile selection, or if you can select a transaction, account, or select. So account is nothing but it will check the posting profile which is tagged to the individual customer. You can select as a option over here as a select, and you can select a posting profile against which you wanted to calculate this interest code, or you can simply select a transaction over here. So whatever transaction is overdue and whatever posting profile is attached to the transaction, system will calculate the interest on those. So one important aspect over here, whenever you select a transaction over here, system will always whenever system will post the interest, it will create an individual record against individual interest code which is calculated for the different invoices. So let's say if you have 4 different overdue invoices and you selected as a transaction, so system will post 4 different interest charge code, interest charge against that particular customer. So we'll see 4 different transaction for those interests. So it's always ideal to have select as account over here. So system will combine all those interest charges and will post a single record against that customer. So it will help you to reduce number of transactions within the customer record. So you can select an individual customer record or a group, and then you can just run this particular batch. So system will identify those records which are overdue, and then based on that criteria which is defined in the interest codes, system will calculate the interest on those overdue invoices. So for the interest of time, I will not going to run this batch. I have already created few records, so we'll see those records over here. So I go to this review and process interest notes. So over here you can see there are different. I have tried to create a different interest codes which will give you insight of like how the interest will be calculated. So for this customer 006, I have created one interest note. So over here you can see for this particular transaction, system has calculated a $10 as an interest. So over here in this interest per transaction line, you can see this when I configure as a interest frequency as of per month, and my rate was like as a 5%. So system has sorry 2%. So system has calculated the entire $10 as an interest on the, even though the due date is like 11th of November 2022, and I run this particular batch for the from April to end of the November, and there is a due date on 16th of November. Still, system has calculated for the entire 30 days. So as my frequencies are monthly, so system did not consider my due date over here and calculate the entire the interest for the entire month. If I selected a due date, the frequency as a day, okay, and I run the same batch, you can see over here system has considered only a 14 days over here. So system has calculated only for the day which are actually past due, and accordingly system has calculated the interest as a $5 over here. So it's very important how you define the frequency of your interest, and then accordingly system will do the calculation over here. So one more important thing also over here. So if you run the batch interest codes and it is not posted, system automatically cancel that earlier interest code and it will recreate the interest code against that particular invoice. So it is always important. You have to post that interest note as well. So either you can, so there is a possibility to cancel this interest note over here, or you can just go and post the interest note by click on this particular post. You can just, there is an option like whether you wanted to post on the posting date, and if there is a as I have selected a customer as my posting profile setup account as my posting profile setup, that's why system has given me this option whether I wanted to post the individual transaction wise interest, or system will just summarize those individual interest transaction within a single interest note. So I will just show you like how these things will work in the real scenario. So let's say these are the different against the different this invoices system has posted an interest. So if I go to this particular customer account, I will just go to this particular customer account 004. When I selected an individual transaction, so system has posted an individual interest record against the transaction. And when I selected a transaction to be posted as a group level, so for this particular interest code, interest note, so system has just combined all those interest over here as a 20. So you can see this all those combined over here and posted as a single transaction against that interest note. So it's very much important how you wanted to post those transactions, and then your configuration is also needs to be created accordingly. So this is about how to process the interest notes. As I mentioned earlier, there are different possibilities available once you post the interest notes and fees against overdue invoices. There's a possibility that you can waive those interest, waive those fees. So how we're going to do that? So we have to go into the individual customer master. You can go to this particular customer and the collection. There is an interest note adjustments available over here. So you can just go over here and click on waive. So system will show how many interest notes are created against that particular customer. So when you select a waive interest note, it will waive the whatever interest which is calculated as well as a fee which is applied on that interest note. So if you wanted to waive both, you use this waive interest note as an option. If you wanted to reinstate that waiver, you have to just select reinstate over here and then reinstate that particular transaction, and you wanted to reverse entire transaction altogether. So you can just select a reverse over there and then mark that particular transaction and click reverse. So how system does this wave of reinstatement or a reversal? So for whenever you reverse this or waive off any transaction, system behind the scenes system post a free text invoice. So let's say I will show you. So for this particular customer, I have a waive off for the particular interest. So for this particular waive off, system in the behind the scenes system has created a free text invoice. So if I go inside of this customer transaction, you can see this free text invoice is posted for this waive off. If I go to open documents, view details.
Rupesh, yeah. Sorry to cut you short. I believe we are over the time now. So if you can quickly wind up, I can see a couple of questions in the chat as well, which you need to answer some of them. If you can please.
Yes. I will finish in 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So over here, you can see this particular free text invoice. So system has automatically created this credit note via free text invoice. So this is about interest code. So we as a part of our session, we also going to talk about write-offs and reimbursement. So write-off is nothing but whenever, let's say, if the customer is not paying against the even sending a repeated reminders, you wanted to write off those transactions. So there are certain companies policy like after 180 days or 90 days of overdue payments, they have to write off those overdue customer invoices. So how you going to process those write-offs? So to perform before going for the write-offs, we have to set up those basic initial setups for the write-offs. So if I go inside of collection parameter, you have to create a journal for this collection letters, and you have to define a reason code. And for this individual reason code, you can just set up which accounts will be used to post that as an expense entry for that particular write-off. So once you set up this particular journals and write-off reason codes and a ledger account, you can simply perform those write-offs from the customer records or from overdue or open invoice records. So I will go inside of this customer record, this particular customer, and if I go to collect over here, so you can just go simply click write-off over here and just click OK. System will auto create a journal, but that will not be a posted. It will unposted journal, and you have to review that journal and then you have to post. Or if you wanted to go and select individual transaction, you can just go inside of this collection and then you can select individual transaction, click on write-off. So based on over here, you can just choose a write-off date and a write-off code and just click OK. So system will automatically create a journal, and then you can just go and view that journal over here. So here system has credited that customer and debited to the 6-1 bad debts account, and you can just post this particular write-off transaction. The last, so this is about a write-off, and there is another possibility in Dynamics, in the credit and collection, to reimburse the customers for their credit balances. So sometimes what happens, like so whenever there is a old credit balance is there, and the account receivable team is not authorized to do a refund to those overdue credit balance, basically credit balances against the customer, and there is a separate team who's controlling the outflow of money from the organization. In that case, how will going to pay the customers whatever the credit balance they have? So that's why there's a different feature available in Dynamics, which is called a reimbursement. What it does, it creates a vendor record automatically based on the one-time vendor record setup available in Dynamics. So whenever you run that one reimbursement batch, system automatically creates a one-time vendor and transfer that balance of customer credit balance to a vendor. And then the subsequent the team who's handling the payment, they can just run the payment proposal or make a payment to the vendor. And there is also a possibility that you can just create a new vendor and tag that vendor to a customer record. So there is a possibility in Dynamics to tag a vendor record to a customer. So whenever you run that batch, system will automatically transfer the balance from one record to another record. So let's say I have this particular customer over here, a reimbursement demo. If I see these transactions, so the invoice value is 100 and the customer has paid 110. So 80 is the credit balance for this customer. So now you wanted to reimburse this money to the customer. So to do that, there's a possibility like you can go over here in this periodic reimbursement and you can just select this parameter whether. So let's say there are multiple transactions and you wanted to summarize those transactions into one. So you just select yes over there. And if you select no, so what will happen if there is a different ledger dimensions are created, system will create a different reimbursement transaction. And this checkbox is enable you to run this calculation or this reimbursement batch for the customers where outstanding debit balance is also available. Debit transactions are also again available against that particular customer. So you can just select these parameters and you can run this batch. So once you complete this, run this batch, system automatically creates a vendor record. So one-time vendor records against this customer and will post the balance transfer from the customer to a vendor. So if I go to this transaction now, system has automatically created this payment entry, this particular entry over here for the reimbursement of $80, and it's automatically gets settled with your payment. So if I go to settlement, it is automatically settled over here against the credit payment over here, which is supposed to be reimbursed to the customer. So this feature you can use to reimburse the customer when there is a credit balance against the customer. So yeah, with that, I will stop my presentation or session over here. So we can take any questions.
Great session, Rupesh, indeed. So I'm not sure whether we'll be able to go through all the questions right now, but let us start with some of them. So Weber Sane has asked, is there any way to charge the fee on the basis of percentage than fixed amount? I believe this is for credit collections here.
Charge fee is there is no percentage available. You just have to mention like in terms of amount, how much amount you wanted to charge. So there is no possibility in the collection, or for that matter, in interest notes.
All right. Next question is from Bilur. What is the difference between collection letters and interest notes?
So collection letter is about to send the reminders to the customer, like, okay, that you have this much overdue invoices and please pay within a time. So that is just to send the reminders, and interest is all about to charge a customer whatever on the overdue invoices. So these are two different set of things. One is to send the reminders and other one is to charge interest on those overdue invoices.
All right. Thank you for that. Next question is from Chandrasekhar. Will the collection letter be sent to bill to customer and sell to customer accounts both?
It is on the basis of the customer record. So I never tested this like bill to and kind of customer, but yeah, you can just test it. But I believe it might be a possibility to set up a different address, email address or something like that, and then you can just send that to that particular customer. But this is basically a customer specific. Over here, we don't have that kind of a bill to or ship to kind of a mechanism.
All right. Next question is from Vijay. How this collection letter looks like? Can system generate and send these collection letters automatically to customers' email as per the due date? Do we have that feature in FNO?
So you can just there is a feature in the FNO, like once you generate a collection letter, there is a send electronically feature available. So you can just define those collection letter and how you wanted to send those collection letters. So if you select email as your method of sending those collection letters, so you can just send those collection letters via email to the customer. So you can use that send electronically option to send those letters to the customer via email.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think that answers the question. Just the last question for the day. So Weber has asked, in real life scenarios, customer wants old invoices again in the email, particularly along with collection letters. So any expert suggestions on that?
Sorry, Shabir, I did not get that. Can you please repeat? Sorry.
Yeah. So in real life scenarios, customer wants the old invoices again in the email, along with the collection letters. So,
okay. So yeah, there is a possibility you can just reprint these collection letters. So it's not like that. You can just reprint those collection letters and send to the customer. So there is a possibility to reprint these collection letters as well.
Okay, all right. I think that we can wind up over here. So that sums up all the questions. Sorry if I missed out any questions from the list. But then I must say, Rupesh, indeed, it was a great session. I must really appreciate what a tremendous work you have done in fitting such a big topic in a single session. And we can see even the interest from the audience with the questions they have raised within the chat. I'm sure all of us must have learned a lot from this practical session and clarified the concept of credit and collection management. Thank you once again for your time and sharing knowledge with the community.
Yeah. Thanks, Shabir, and thank you everyone for attending this session. Thanks.
Thank you so much.